I got you like you got me. When the earth shakes, when the bombs scream, until our last breath, every heartbeat. When your nightmares turn to real life and the ground's filled up with landmines, we will face it standing side by side. You know I'll come running when you need. I'm coming. You know I'll come running. If you go to war, then I'm going with you. Pick up my sword, yeah, there's nothing I won't do. When you sound the alarm and the chaos is rising, leading the charge, yeah, I'm coming, I'm fighting. Swear on the breath that I breathe, I'll never retreat, yeah, I'll be your army. If you go to war, then I'm going with you. Pick up my sword, yeah, there's nothing I won't do. When you sound the alarms and the chaos is rising, leading the charge, I'm coming, I'm fighting. Swear on the breath that I breathe, I'll never retreat, yeah, I'll be your army. Seeing monsters at your window. No, you can't sleep, you pretend though. You don't have to play the hero. Cause I got you like you got me. When the earth shakes, when the bombs scream, until our last breath, every heartbeat. You know I'll come running. If you go to war, then I'm going with you. Pick up my sword, yeah, there's nothing I won't do. When you sound the alarm and the chaos is rising, leading the charge, yeah, I'm coming, I'm fighting. Swear on the breath that I breathe, I'll never retreat, yeah, I'll be your army. When your nightmares turn to real life and the ground's filled up with landmines, we will face it standing side by side. You know I'll come running monsters at your window. No, you can't sleep, you pretend though. You don't have to play the hero. 'Cause I got you like you got me. When the earth shakes, when the bombs scream, until our last breath, every heartbeat.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and wherever you're watching in the world, a very warm welcome to another round of TT Masters League, and it is the 5th round of Division 1, which takes us to the Canadian Grand Prix. Good to have you along with us on this nice and miserable Tuesday evening. My name is Kieran McGinley, and joining me in the commentary box here tonight is the lovely, the fantastic, the wonderful Mr. James here. James, how are you tonight?
These introductions are getting better, I feel. Yeah, I'm doing really well, Kieran. How's yourself?
I'm not doing too badly at all. A bit chilly, actually, compared to the last 2 weeks we've had in the commentary box. It's actually quite cool today, so it should be quite nice. I mean, when we got to the end of the Dutch Grand Prix, I was really struggling. Monaco wasn't so bad either. By the way, if you did miss out on Monaco, go back and watch the race. Trust me when I say it was a pretty good race to watch. It's worth a watch if you get the chance. But after that set of results, it was actually quite a good race to watch, I think.
Yeah, it was really
on your end, yes.
Yeah, it was a really good race to watch, obviously. Coming out of Monaco, Josh leading the championship on 66 points, Pepeteman second on 62, and Kalsper and Medium Pilot actually tied for third on 59 points as well. Why don't we have a look at the rest of the top 10 as well? Because Dobby's in 5th on 46. Recon, who has now changed teams, no longer a member of TTG, now a team member of BDG. He's in 6th on 44 points. Legend in 7th on 34, with Killblue in 8th, the reserve on 32. Cosby in 9th on 28, and Nathan in 10th on 22. 7 points separating the top 4, all to play for in Canada.
Yeah, absolutely, and I've been seeing a lot of grief and a lot of stick for Canada in the chats leading up to this race. I'm not happy with that, but anyway, it is my favourite race on the Canada, mainly because normally the actual Grand Prix takes place around about the weekend of my birthday, so that's probably why I love it so much. It used to be actually the British Grand Prix that used to do that, then they moved that to July, so now I've got the Canadian Grand Prix, which is a firm favourite on my section. And of course, it is such a high intensity track. It's a very misleading track as well. Not normally one you'd call a street circuit, considering the island was built in the 70s, I think it was, due to the Olympics that were meant to be happening, and then converted into a racetrack. Imagine that, an island built purposely for a racetrack. Not quite the way we wanted it to happen, but the island that was left over turned into a racetrack. It's still got the same ring to it, but it has had some fantastic racing over the years, including the sensational move in 2007, Super Aguri passing a McLaren. You'd live to see the day. Yes, Takuma Sato passing Fernando Alonso. At the time was the reigning world champion, heading in towards the Wall of Champions. And of course, the Wall of Champions. It wouldn't be the Canadian Grand Prix without the Wall of Champions, where in one race in 1998, Michael Schumacher among others in that one. Jacques Villeneuve and I believe Damon Hill all hit the wall going into that final corner, hence where it got its name there in 1998. So many drivers have fallen foul of the Wall of Champions over the past years. Don't be too sad if you haven't. It's caught out some of the very best drivers in the field through Formula One as we get underway. But we're shortly counting down, and James, do you have anything to add in these couple of 20 seconds we've got left before we head in?
It's going to be so interesting, I think, tonight. Obviously, we've got it all to play for in terms of the drivers, the constructors as well. Mercedes on top on 128, Ferrari in third on 103. Going to be so interesting tonight, I think.
Absolutely, and hopefully this will deliver. Canadian Grand Prix pretty much always delivers. I'm sure you'll agree with me as we head now loading into, on our screens at least, into the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. We're going to have 35 laps around this track here tonight with a couple of corners to worry about, as well as the Wall of Champions heading in towards the final corners. Well, without further ado then, let's waste no more time and let's get in to the Canadian Grand Prix. Well, here we are in Montreal, Canada for the 5th round of TT Masters League Division Number 1 Season 1, which takes us to this very picturesque track on a man-made island left over from the Olympics back in the 70s. Of course, it's delivered some fantastic racing over the years and more years to come, I hope. It's one of my favourite calendars. It's one of my favourite tracks on the calendar, I should say. Great for racing. As you can see here, 14 corners takes us through 4.3 kilometres of a very, very tricky track. Narrow walls, plenty of undulation in Sector 1 and a hairpin thrown in at all costs there. A tricky track to master. It is easy to learn, but with overtaking opportunities being very limited, this session of qualifying may not be just as crucial as Monaco, but you need to have a good lap and set a good lap if you want to have the ideal strategy and position going in towards the race. As you can tell, I'm very eager to get started here at the Canadian Grand Prix. Like I say, it's one of my favourite races on the calendar, and not long ago, back in TTL F1 last season, you and I, James, saw a great battle developing, although it did involve and end in a little bit of a crash.
It did, but that battle was really good, and if I remember rightly, was it Carlsberg Recon by any chance?
It was indeed, yes. I'm glad you have a good memory, as do I, about that battle. But yeah, what started out really, really well ended in somebody's TV being turned off. And unfortunately, the Sleep Setters League for the first time at the Canadian Grand Prix. And what has been a demanding and tricky calendar so far this season, the Canadian Grand Prix is no different, James.
Yeah, it is no different. And to be honest, I think honestly this tonight could make the difference between being a champion and not being a champion. It could be one of those races that can make or break a career. We have had a new patch update, by the way, and if you're wondering why, it seems to me, and certainly on my end, that the graphics seem a lot smoother tonight. Not sure about you. It seems that way.
Well, anyway, I'm sure we'll have plenty to discuss, including the graphics and more as we head into the race tonight. But we have Spreen here, who is one of the first cars out on track then, as he now backs off going in towards that chicane. Hopefully he's not coming back to the pit lane. No, he's not. He's going to stay out there for a lap here of the Gilles Villeneuve circuit, now making his way across the start-finish line and straight into the braking zone, in towards turn 1 and then in towards turn 2. Watch out for the traffic on the outside there. Going to be easy to get caught out. Uphill of the exit of turn 2 to help you with that traction, but then we go in towards turns 3 and 4, which is downhill with that wall ever looming on the right hand side, flying through turn 5 and in towards the braking zone of turn 6 and 7 here. Very easy through turn 7 for the back end to simply say no thanks as it spins up the rear tyres. Be careful with that bit of traction zone there. Short run with DRS down towards turns 8 and 9 through the chicane. Attack the sleeping policemen there. They are there to be attacked, those bits of orange curb there. As long as you don't go over the white line on the curb, you should be fine. Down into towards the hairpin now. Big lock up there, but there's plenty of ways you can take this hairpin. Running deep is still a good option, as you need that little bit of exit and that traction out of turn 10 down towards the chicane and the Wall of Champions looming along the outside. You're on the throttle pedal now for about 15 seconds until you reach the next braking zone here, in towards that final chicane. Attack it as much as you can, kiss the wall if you need to on the exit of the chicane, and across the start-finish line with a 108.2 from the Renault driver. And I have to say, albeit from a couple of lockups, that looked like a pretty good lap.
Yeah, very decent lap there by Spreen, who of course was TTG Navy. He must be on a different account tonight. So Navy really coming in there very nicely indeed. Darkbolt as well with a 108.6. We've got medium parts invalidated. There's quite a few laps being invalidated, but Carlsberg coming up towards the line is another one that is invalidated. Killably around the final corner though on the AlphaTauri. Let's see what he can do. 8th in the standings coming into tonight, and he goes second, just ahead of Darkbolt with a 108.6. It looked a bit of a scrappy final corner there from what I saw.
Well, we've got Yaram here who's on an outlap at the moment as he makes his way now down towards that chicane. And yeah, it's been an interesting season for Yaram. It started off quite well, and it's a bit of a lull recently, but he'll be hoping to bounce back here in Canada as he starts his flying lap.
Yeah, Yaram down towards turn 1, looking very nice actually into the braking zone of turns 1 and 2. He now comes round through turn 3, and the Hassman looking very good. We'll see what its first sector split is like, but not many drivers setting lap time just yet. Yaram now coming towards this first sector split. Dobby goes second with a 108.3, but Yaram with a 19.1 through the first sector. Think you want to be setting sub-19s through the first sector if you want to be really, really on the money tonight.
Absolutely, but we're now heading this way now down in towards turns 8 and 9. Again, really have to attack those corners here. And of course, it is a misleading circuit. There's plenty of mid-speed corners, but there's also plenty of opportunities to really open up the tank and use that engine to its full potential, including heading down towards that final chicane, as we now see Yara making his way down that, well, you can call it a back straight if you like, but there's only chicane separating you from the start-finish straight. Then let's see, let's ride on board with Yara as he makes his way now down in towards that chicane. Oh, he gets too much curb then on entry into the final chicane, and it's just as easy as that to invalidate your lap time.
Yeah, he would have gone third with that lap time as well. He just overcommitted going through turn 13, the entrance into the corner. It is very, very hard to invalidate there, and to be honest, he's done that. And I should say it's very easy to invalidate there. Not very hard, because honestly, the Waller Championship chicane is quite brutal at times. Yoram, though, would have gone third. Carlsberg on top, though, 107.9. Spring second, 108.2. Dobby third, 108.3.
Absolutely, Carlsbury now making his way through that final chicane and onwards towards that start-finish line in the McLaren. Can he drag himself up the order? He had a little bit of traffic on that lap though. So 108.8, especially down in towards the hairpin there. I think Coutinho was on the outside there, and it might have just put him off slightly. So expect another run to be completed there by the McLaren driver. Meanwhile, Venom on the medium tyres making his way now on towards turns 8 and 9. This is a track as well where the hard tyres don't seem to be your friend here.
Yeah, definitely not. I think, to be honest, Venom, is trying to take a little bit of a gamble here by going on the mediums. You can see him very much locking up through the hairpin, trying to take the wide-out exit. Honestly, this is not a great lap at all from Venom as he comes now down into the DRS zone, now down towards straight. The final two corners are the most important corners between yourself and a possible pole position. Is Venom going to do it though as he comes through the final corner? Very nice actually through the final two corners at the World Championship chicane. Venom though will actually set not a bad lap time here, 108.9. It's only 3 thousandths off Nathan on a different compound of tyre.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, as you said, not a bad lap considering he's on those medium tyres, so there's definitely more time to come if he were to put on the set of soft tyres heading into this one. As you can see now, the best lap times are on the board, and of course the tyres that were set with them also on the board. And as you can see, Venom, the only driver so far to set their best lap time on a set of the medium tyres.
Yeah, Recon just about to come across the line, goes second. Very nice through the final corner there from Recon. He does go second on 108.1. And I'll correct myself by what I said. Spreen is not Navy, I've just been informed by Maze. He is not Navy, and he's a reserve pulling in for Navy tonight in the runner.
So that's where you've got confused, you see.
That's what I have.
It's a different name.
They're both Dutch.
Yes, yeah. Oh, well, there you go. That's the problem. immensified there for you, James. But yeah, obviously we can't have a TT Masters League streak without one of us making a mistake. That's just not how we do things, is it? It's not how it works. Speed, meanwhile, making his way now down what is, well, technically the back straight in towards turns 8 and 9. A little bit of DRS making your way through there, and it's just a great track. Once you've got the setup and once you've got the grip through the corners, this track becomes, well, a breeze to drive.
Yeah, he's 3.5 tenths up through the middle sector as well. This is a really decent lap on the screen. If he nails the wall of Champion Chicane, he could honestly improve by about 5 tenths of a second and go easily, comfortably into the 107s. Let's see what he's going to do as he comes now down into the braking zone on the wall of Champion Chicane. Just brake just off the 100-metre pole, turn yourself in. Oh, and he's getting caught on the curve, and that is a disaster for screen. It looked really good until that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, to be honest with you, he's only 1.5 seconds down with that big mistake through that final chicane, but it's so easy to overcommit there and try and ask too much of these rear tyres. You do have a lot of grip around Canada, but once that grip...
Might have Killer Blue on a lap coming down towards the final couple of corners. The AlphaTauri now in a position, as I say, in the standings. Let's see what the Brit can do as he comes down through the wall of Champion Chicane. Very nice through there. This is going to be an improvement as Carlsberg goes quickest with a 107.931. Killer Blue goes fourth, 108.247, and only about 300s off screen.
Yeah, absolutely not a bad lap whatsoever, is it? So not bad at all for him. Meanwhile, Coutinho there, he's invalidated his lap time. Dobby, I think that is in the background. No, Dobby's just come across the line to make an improvement at 108.3. Yaram also out there trying to warm up his tyres alongside. He's actually come back into the pit lane. Meanwhile, then Siege making his way through that final chicane, and obviously not as confident as some of the drivers we've seen, but maybe that car is quicker in other areas. 110.2 from Siege there. Now, bear in mind that it's been a while since we've seen Siege in a Formula 1 car, so maybe this is his chance to just get into the car, get a feel of how the car handles its speed as well. I think we're going to see that time come down because Siege is a good driver.
Yeah, Siege a really good driver, and I think actually he hasn't raced so far this season. So Siege is coming in pretty much a bit of a baptism of fire, seeing what his pace is actually like. He's down there in 12. I'm on board with Dobby. Dobby did invalidate on his lap, but it was looking like a very good lap at that stage before he invalidated. So I think we'll see a lot of improvements towards the session. I'm going to bank pole position, maybe a 107.4.
Oh, he's done it already. He's already made a prediction here, so that is going to be, well, hold on to your hats for that one. I guarantee you that's going to be questioned at the end of this race. Whether it's going to be, oh my goodness, James, you were absolutely right. How did you do it? And the other option is, James, you were so wrong. How did you get it that badly wrong? But anyway, here comes Siege then, who I think is actually going for another flying lap here as he makes his way towards the line. That's much better from Siege. 108.4 then. So that implies then that either he made a mistake on that previous lap and backed out of it, or his first lap, he just wasn't happy with it. Backed off at the last possible moment and just went again. This time he's got himself much better in that pack, and you have to say a 107.9 so far. Every other lap time that's been set is a 108. That is how immensely close this field is here tonight.
Yeah, Kalsper actually holding the keys, I think, to pole position, to be honest, at this stage, because he's, 2 tenths ahead of Medium Pilot, 2 tenths ahead of his teammate as well. So Kalsper really holding himself in his own here tonight. I know he is our current TTML, well, champion technically from TTL F1 League 1 last season. Recon down there in third, recently joining the BDG team, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. But Josh still yet to set a lap as well, and he's picking up a lot of invalidations on this lap that I've been seeing, including on this one that he's on.
Yeah, and that's the case when you just cut the final corner too finely. It does invalidate your next qualifying lap as well, because it perceives as you taking an advantage for your next lap as well. Pepetta, meanwhile, on the timing screen there, you can see on the map, went purple through Sector 2 then, so this should be an interesting lap time. Let's see what this lap time is made for then for the Mercedes as he makes his way now darting in towards that wall of Champion Chicane, just kissing, brushing by millimetres against that wall. And Pepetta there does take provisional pole position of 107.7 from the German there. That's a hefty lap time there.
Yeah, we will see a lot of improvements, though, I think, from guys behind him. So Pepetta goes 2 tenths quicker than Kalsper, Kalsper 2 tenths quicker than Medium Pilot. So really, 4 tenths separating the top 3. currently in qualifying. It might not seem like much, but 4/10 around here in Canada is really the difference between you nailing that wall of champion chicane and you losing it completely.
Absolutely. And speaking of Perpetum, obviously he had the pole position, I believe, last time out, and the race win. Let's bring you up the top three from last time out. Perpetum, of course, won the Monaco Grand Prix, and to be fair to him, he won it by quite some margin as well, ahead of Kalsper and the late-stopping Recon, who had to change a front wing and decided to just put on a fresh set of tyres. Why wouldn't you at that point in the race? Spreen, meanwhile, gets up to third place with a 108.0 there in the Renault. But yeah, Perpetum looking to make it back-to-back wins, James.
Yeah, Perpetum's certainly looking like he will make it back-to-back wins currently. If it stays as it is with 3 minutes and 50 seconds to go, roughly in qualifying, I think he would take that, to be honest, being on qualifying. But there's a lot of guys that can improve behind him. We saw Spreen obviously improve. Kalsper was on a good lap. He was 2 tenths up through the middle sector, came across the line, he invalidated through the final corner. It would have been quickest, though, I think.
Well, that is interesting, because now he's got to see if he can cool down those tyres if he doesn't want to pit again, and it's just so close to that checkered flag. Literally 3.5 minutes to go, less than that, as Venom now comes out on a set of soft tyres. He's just gone 3/10 quicker, but yeah, he's invalidated the lap, and I think he's taken that out on the wall in frustration there, because he knows now that that's not going to be enough time for him to get back to the pits and, well, basically get back out there. Well, I
never know. I don't know.
If he leaves his mark on the track, it definitely won't be enough time. He'll have to make it back to the pits. But yes, Kalsper also invalidated his lap, so whether he'll just see if he can have a cool-down lap and go back out there once again, let's have a look and see. Meanwhile then, Perpetum, as you say, provisional pole position, 107.7 from the Mercedes driver. Kalsper in second. Spreener is in third place with Medium Pilot fourth. Recon fifth. Killer Blue in sixth. Dobby seventh. Nathan in eighth. Siege ninth. And Cagino rounds out the top 10. One thing that's going to be interesting before we head into the final laps of qualifying, James, is that pit lane entrance. Now, of course, if you're taking the racing line, you have to brake going in towards that chicane. Round about the 100-metre board, there's a little dip in the track, and that's your indication of when it's near to start braking. But obviously, if you're going into the pit lane, your braking more bit is sort of nearer the 50-metre mark, maybe even beyond that. So there's going to be a real well, if you're not careful, it can be a catastrophe going in towards the pit lane, especially if you're a driver who wants to go into the pit lane behind a driver who doesn't.
Yeah, especially so. I think if you have a driver in front of you that doesn't want to go into the pit lane, but you do, as I'm watching on board, Siege is just invalidated through the final corner. But coming into the pit entry, it is so difficult, I think, even on the brakes, to get that car stopped into the pit lane, because these guys, braking just 1 metre less might cost them like a 5-second time penalty or something. It's going to be really intriguing.
Absolutely, 90 seconds to go, and Killer Blue has got up to P4 there, a 108.0. Meanwhile, Nathan improved to P7, a 108.3, and obviously Killer Blue feels that that's all he can do, that's all he's got time for. Medium Pilot now starts a flying lap here, currently on a 108.1, and of course, Medium Pilot, who started off this season quite well, he won the very first race, came second at round 2 in the Netherlands, or round 3, whichever way you want to pronounce it, because obviously Vietnam is to be decided what happens with that one. But not on the podium in Monaco. Is this a chance for him to come back, I wonder? Remember, pole position is worth 2 points in the championship, so pole position is literally worth fighting for. So Medium Pilot now makes his way now down towards that hairpin here, in towards it we go, getting very close to that grass on the left hand side to just try and open up the track as much as he possibly can. You can see cars diving out of the way. Siege retires out of the session, so too does Venom. No improvements from either of those, but Medium Pilot now making his way down towards that chicane here, braking hard as he kept it within track limits. He's just about done it, but now he's lost a little bit of traction on exit. No matter, because that's still a 107.6 there from Medium Pilot. Takes away provisional pole position. Now asks for a response from Perpetum here as Josh comes across the line with seconds to spare to start his flying lap. Of course, race winner at the Netherlands Grand Prix, Josh. But second place in Australia, not on the podium as we headed there in towards Monaco. Checkered flag has just fallen, and it will be Perpetuum who's the first to take that checkered flag. Josh will be the last, so a Mercedes will lead the charge towards that checkered flag and also be the last one to cross the line. Perpetuum then coming into the pits, so he feels he hasn't done enough on that lap alone to warrant him finishing that lap. Yaram, who hasn't set a lap time all session long, backs out of his lap then, so he's obviously not wanting to start, not wanting to be on those tyres. A 109.8 there from him. Dobby moves up to P7 then on those tyres. What about Spring? What can he do? No improvement from him. Calspur, watch out for him as well. The McLaren of Carlsbury does not improve. Here goes Carlsbury then through the final corner. And onwards now towards that start-finish line. Is there an improvement here for the Ferrari? No, there isn't. How about Josh then? And Josh invalidates his lap there as we head towards the end there. Darbo actually getting a lap time in there at the very end to take fourth place, 107.9. But the 2 points are going to Medium Pilot, back-to-back pole positions.
Yeah, fantastic lap, even if he did have a mistake coming at the final corner. And sorry for cutting through on you there, because Calspur had set the same lap time in qualifying as what he did previously.
Exactly the same,
yeah,
to 3 digits.
Exactly the same, 107.931.
That's incredible. Well, that's consistency from Calspur then, so that is obviously great to see. But yes, Medium Pilot then, not going on to set a lap in that last stint. Well, it's got him pole position. Another 2 points added to his championship tally. So I'll take you through the results of qualifying then. Medium Pilot takes pole position ahead of Perpetuum there. Calspur in third with Dartbolt in fourth. Spreen is in fifth with Killer Blue in sixth. Recon seventh with Dobby in eighth. Carlsbury in ninth, and Nathan rounds out the top 10. It's Siege in 11th, Cugino in 12th, Venom in 13th, Yaram 14th, and Josh there backing out. Obviously he invalidated his lap on that last attempt. He'll be starting from the back of the grid. That is not what he needed at Canada.
No, definitely not. And Josh does have a distinct advantage, I should say. If it is wet conditions, that's what he might be thinking with that 113.3. It might not be. Most of the drivers going on, obviously, on soft compound of tyres, but you never know with Canada. We might have 2011 all over again.
We might do. Well, if we've got 2011 all over again, I haven't got 4 hours to spare, James, so hopefully it won't go on for that long. But anyway, Josh, of course, is our championship leader starting from the back of the grid. Medium Pilot, meanwhile, with that pole position, now moves himself now up to 61 points. So as of the start of this race, he is in third place in the championship. He and Calspur were tied on that third place, but with that pole position lap from Medium Pilot, he now moves up to 61. Now he's only 5 points behind the championship leader in Josh. And also, just to give you, which I'm sure they will be on the screen, the point scoring system for this one is an alternate point scoring system. It's 30 points for the race winner, and as you can see, it scales down to P19 scoring 1 point and P20 scoring 0 points whatsoever. Pole position, as I've already mentioned, scores 2 points going into the race, and the fastest lap of the race can be set by anybody as long as they reach the checkered flag, 1 point. So it becomes very, very valuable if you've not had a great race at the end of the race, putting on a set of softs and trying to go for that fastest lap of the race. But we are now very close to the formation lap here at the Canadian Grand Prix at the 5th round of the championship, with our championship leader all the way down the order. Of course, we do have De Keeper, who has joined this session. He didn't take part in qualifying whatsoever, so he'll be starting from the back of the grid. That's at least Josh getting at least one position better than he was maybe going to be, but actually he stayed in the same position with a car behind him, and he's got the rest of the field ahead of him. This is going to have to be one heck of a race here tonight from Josh.
Josh has got to drive like a potential champion, I think, tonight to try and get past the likes of Venom, Cugino and Nathan, who are really quick drivers ahead of him. He is on a set of medium compound of tyres, which should mean that he could go one stop, maybe even a two stop to the end of the race. We have got Cugino, Yoram and De Keeper also on that set of tyre. Everyone else on a set of softs. So we'll be very interested to see how Venom gets on, the Scotsman, on a set of softs as well. He, from 13th from the grid, could have a good race.
Absolutely. Perpetuum here. Obviously, we're going to highlight him as well. He took his first ever win in TT Masters League Division 1 last time around in Monaco. And obviously, he'll be hoping to make it back-to-back wins going in towards tonight's race. Another driver we have to look out for is Darkbolt. He's starting P4 in tonight's race. Now, last time out, he started in P12 at Monaco and finished in 4th place. There's a big lock up there from him trying to keep that car in the right amount of width there, and Kalsper obviously using his brakes there to try and warm him up. But yeah, started P12 and finished P4 at Monaco, I do believe that was. So a fantastic result from him last time out. He'll be looking to get that momentum as he heads in towards the Canadian Grand Prix. A couple of overtaking opportunities to talk about. Turns 1 and 2 can be a good overtaking opportunity if you're side by side with the car ahead. Turn 6 is a good overtake opportunity on the outside of 7 to try and get the better exit, and also the hairpin in towards turn 10. Very good overtaking opportunity, heaviest braking point on the circuit, and of course it is a chance to get that move done. But here we are then, we are moments away from the Canadian Grand Prix here in TT Masters League. It is 5 red lights. And we're underway in Montreal, no time to waste. A great start there from Perpetuum as we make our way now on towards turn 1 for the very first lap. A sensational start then from the Mercedes, who moves into the lead of this race. Medium Pilot now drops down to 2nd place. And of course we have to wait for those timing screens to sort of refresh themselves as we make our way through. A clean getaway from all involved as we now make our way in towards turns 3 and 4. Yaram trying to move up the order there, and it'll be interesting to see where Josh re-emerges out of all of this one. Oh, there's an incident in the background. Josh, I've just been speaking about him. He's been collected by a Haas there going in towards turn 6. Not the start he needed at all on those medium tyres, but at least he's now got a bit of free air between him. Recon now on the going side by side with Carlsbury then as they make their way towards that hairpin. Carlsbury's got the inside line with the McLaren there. He should have the better braking zone, but he's run into the back of Killer Blue there. Is there damage to that McLaren? I'd be very surprised if there's no damage whatsoever, because that was a hefty whack there. Looks like he's got away scot-free at the moment, at least according to my eyesight. And of course they could be lying to me as we make our way through. But Perpetuum, a fantastic start from the German, is leading this race. Medium Pilot then down to 2nd place with Kalsper rounding out the top 3.
Yeah, Perpetuum with an absolute unreal start off the grid. Medium Pilot just had absolutely no traction off the line. 7/10 of a second as they come through down towards turns 3 and 4. We saw Recon and Carlsbury fighting as well, and they're still going at it down towards turns 3 and 4 as well. But Recon hanging on for position. Yoram as well getting past the keeper. There was a little bit of a collection, as you say. I think it was between Yoram and Josh in that incident. But otherwise, a very clean start, and the most positions gained, Venom, up from 13th to 9th.
Yeah, great start there from all around. Just those couple of incidents going on behind us. Meanwhile, Coutinho has actually got past Dobby there without DRS, mind, going in towards turns 8 and 9. So Coutinho is not hanging about. He now moves up into 10th place here with a move here from the Renault. Big lock up there from Venom as he tries to make that move stick. A very, very late move. And Carlsbury's got the move back there. He's weaving left and right and showing that just he did not like that whatsoever. Venom's going to have to try again.
Venom, I think, actually might have tried to do the same thing. It's actually Carlsbury that's got right side end plate damage, and Carlsbury and Venom, yeah, Venom really needs to calm down, I think, possibly with his driving. It's not really great to watch, to be honest, but I was just going to come on to a similar incident to last season. Dobby's about to get past Carlsbury down the inside. Venom actually went for a move, I think, similar to another driver last season in TTL F1 League 1 at the hairpin, and he went out the race from that. So he shouldn't be trying a move that doesn't work.
Yeah, obviously we don't want the red mist descending on lap 3 of this race. Of course, DRS is now online. Perpetuum only leading by 0.6 of a second ahead of Medium Pilot. Kalsper there in 3rd place with Darkbolt in 4th, and Screen there. I think this is his first race here in the league tonight, running in 5th place as a reserve. Then it's Killer Blue in 6th, and Recon meaning business here. Maybe a new esports team, a new way of trying to make a move, maybe round the outside. Killer Blue trying to go deep to try and prevent that move from happening, but he's still there. You can see there just about enough room left there by Killer Blue, but he got the better exit. He has the DRS, but so too does that Ferrari. Surely not a move down in towards the chicane. You must be mad. He's going for it though, down the inside. He goes round the outside of the chicane there, and Killer Blue has to take the escape road there, and lots of debris then, which I assume is going to be that polystyrene going through. He clearly felt there was no chance he was making that chicane.
Yep, Killer Blue's got left side end plate damage. He must have hit the wall coming through the chicane. So, obviously, that now will affect his race. It looked to me as actually Recon got the move done. 2 into 1 into the World Champion chicane is mad at the best of times, but I never thought Recon would try and do that. To be honest, it looked like he got the move done. Killer Blue, I think, just unfortunate with a bit of a left side end plate damage.
Yeah, I think as well, he might have been just a bit too overcautious. It's obviously very narrow going through there, but he obviously felt that he was never making that chicane. Meanwhile, Carlsbury, they're thinking about a move up the inside, but these two, the AlphaTauri and the McLaren, both have end plate damage to their front wing, which now this could be inviting for Dobby, but Carlsbury will have that new sense of, well, trying to get past the car ahead. You can see that right hand side end plate damage to that front wing, and obviously not like me in Division 2 at Monaco last week, this won't result in a train too badly, but obviously Carlsbury will be looking for that move past, and he's got the DRS on Killer Blue. Up the inside he goes, then in towards that chicane. He has the inside line, but the AlphaTauri decides to pit in, and of course I was just talking about that in qualifying, how dangerous that can be, but obviously he's now pitting in Killer Blue to replace that front wing.
Yoram down the inside on Nathan as well. This is for 11, trying to get around the outside of turn 2. A little bit of contact, but fair play to Yoram, getting it done around the outside of turn 2. Fantastic move. Nathan loses out on 2 positions. Just a tiny bit of contact. Nothing more, nothing less. The keeper's through as well. He's up to P12, so Nathan really losing out on positions here. He's dropped 3 down from 10, and he's about to lose another one because Josh is down the inside as well, and Josh has been overcautious, overbold, and Siege, I think, has been caught up in that as well, perhaps.
I think he just about got away with that one. I think Siege did enough braking there to avoid any contact between himself and the Mercedes, but that was a desperate move, wasn't it, from Josh there, wanting to get past so badly, so quickly, that it's just all patience goes out the window, all that racecraft goes out of the window just to try and make a move. Meanwhile, the two teammates then of Dobby and Yaram, I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of team orders here, because Dobby's on the soft tyres, Yaram on the mediums, but Yaram's got the run here with that DRS, and he's got past his teammate there. Now he can try and get past Carlsbury up ahead in towards that final chicane we go. Lap 6 of this race then, Perpetuum leads from Medium Pilot and Kalsper rounding out the top 3. Meanwhile, Venom then is right on the back of that Ferrari of Recon.
Yeah, to keep it down the inside as well on Dobby. Dobby really losing out here. He's not using up his overtake mode, which is why I think he's been overtaken by Yara, and now possibly by the keeper. Not down the inside into turn 3. You must be mad if you want to try and go for that move. But the keeper hangs on for P12. Dobby's still in P11. But yeah, just speaking about Venom, he's getting onto the back of Recon, and the fact that actually I think Venom has just hit the wall there. Coginio is really starting to come into this race. He might be the dark horse coming into tonight.
Oh, but he's caught that sleeping policeman all wrong there, heading in towards turn 8, and obviously that's unsettled the car, and all that momentum he gained on Venom by him making a mistake, he's now lost, making a mistake himself. Meanwhile, you can see a little bit of a trade. Oh, that's Dobby locking up there, leaving his braking as late as possible, but then just overrunning his braking point slightly. But he's able to keep that position, but for how much longer against De Keeper then, making our way now down towards the chicane. De Keeper makes his way through, but what about Yaram then? He's looking for a move down the inside in towards the chicane. He has the inside line, and Carlsbury says, fine, do you know what? You can have that one. Yaram moves up to 9th, and now up the order because we've got a couple of cars in the pits.
Yeah, I thought Carlsbury actually was going to come back him down towards turn 1. He looked like he was going to get the run, but then sort of backed off, which I think is fair because he has got obviously that right side end plate damage. Recon and Screen, as you say, are into the pit lane. Screen and Recon, I think, have joined on a set of medium compound tyres, if I'm not mistaken. So they're possibly going 2-stop. They'll probably go to around, what, like 25, 26, and then put on the softs again?
Yeah, possibly. That seems like a valid strategy, maybe slightly earlier as well. To try and get the undercut for that third stint that they have there. But meanwhile, we've got a fantastic battle going on for this midfield here. Yaram trying to pull away, but he's 3.1 behind Coginio, who's looking to try and find a way past Venom in the near future. But obviously you've got the Alfa Romeo there locking up, going in towards the hairpin. To keeper managing to just keep it out of the diffuser of Carlsbury as we make our way now down towards that chicane once again for the 7th time this race. And we've got Darkbolt coming into the pits, Venom following him in, so some sort of undercut may be happening here.
Yeah, I think Darkbolt might be responding to Recon coming into the pits. I think the Williams man obviously coming into the pit. His pit garage is at the end of the pit lane. He goes on actually to another set of soft compound tyre. And that might be the wrong call, I think, to go some Darkbolt. He could go, what, mediums? From about lap, I'm trying to think here, about lap 18, lap 19 possibly. to the end of the race?
What you have to remember is that he started the race on used soft tyres, so it's a viable strategy. It can work. It's very aggressive, but obviously he feels confident to do it. But obviously, as well, there could be that looming threat of a safety car, which, by all intents and purposes, in Monaco, we only had that virtual safety car. Somehow, we only had a virtual safety car at Monaco. It feels weird saying that. But here at Canada, the safety car is always on call here because it is such a narrow circuit that a safety car is not quite a possibility, more like a probability. As we make our way now down in towards that chicane. And Papetum, race leader, into the pits, and Kalsper follows him in.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, to be honest. I think they're trying to react to Darkbolt as well, and behind Recon has pulled out the gap of 1.2 seconds, so that is going to be really intriguing. Kalsper onto a set of mediums, Papetum onto a set of hards.
Yes.
Is he trying to one-stop to the end?
It's going to be very difficult to make those, unless he's using soft tyres for the end of the race. I'm not entirely sure, but Papetum there, going on to the hardest set of tyres available. Meanwhile, one of his rivals there, of Kalsper, rejoining on a set of mediums. He's actually rejoined just behind Josh there, who of course is yet to stop, but these two will be battling hammer and tong. Josh will not want to be letting Kalsper through, and Kalsper actually picks up a 3-second time penalty. And of course, Canada is a place where they are very, very strict on those track limits. If you just go over them, if you even touch the paint of the white lines there, you're in trouble. Here comes Kalsper then with the DRS on Josh. Then Josh trying to defend as hard as he can. But Kalsper goes round the outside. And with less grip there, Josh gets onto the grass. And he can't quite defend that as much as he'd like to. He actually drops a position to Recon there. Hard battling between himself and Kalsper there.
Yeah, you got to think as well for the constructors. That was quite important for Kalsper to get past on Josh, because Josh would have been holding up the Ferraris as much as possible. Medium Pilot is reacting. He's into the pitch from the lead of the race, and he's got a set of medium compound tyres out in that Williams garage. So it'll be very interesting to see where he's going to come out, because I think Darkbolt has just gone past Josh down into the chicane, and Josh, I think, is going to come back at him down towards turn 1, but I think Darkbolt has just got the legs on this one. And Medium Pilot, I think, is coming out right in the thick of things, and possibly has just got ahead of Papetum, and the side-by-side.
That side-by-side, I think Papetum's just about got that track position, which he has, but obviously going through turn 4, he gets a little bit of grass there, in towards 5, and towards 6 and 7, Papetum has just about held on, and if his strategy is to go deep now into this race on those hard tyres, track position is so important to him. Medium Pilot, though, looking for a way around the outside, in towards 7 and 8 here, but no way through. Sorry, 8 and 9 this is, as we now make our way through, but this is where Papetum is going to struggle. Grip through the corners there. Medium Pilot is going to have the advantage for the time being, heading now in towards that hairpin. As you can see there, that is Siege jumping out of the way.
Recon diving down the inside on Kalsper as well. I think there might have been a little bit of end plate damage actually there from Recon.
There is,
Left side end plate damage.
So left side end plate damage for Recon. That is the last thing he wanted, trying to challenge so hard for the win of this race. But he's going to carry on for now. I wonder how long he can go. Kalsper doesn't get a great exit out of the chicane. The Ferraris are side by side. Their teammates, remember, heading now down towards turns 1 and 2. They have to at some point work together here, because is that... No, the front wing of Kalsper looks fine. It's just Recon that's got the end plate damage.
Yeah, very lucky. I think he actually clonked the wall with his tyre rather than the front wings. So Kalsper is very lucky, but they have lost time as a result of the battle. I just saw it in the background. Recon just totally dominant down the inside of Kalsper. Obviously felt like he was the quicker driver. Speaking of the quicker driver, Medium Pilot is all over the back of Papetum. He is not going to go for a move down into the chicane. No way, Jose. He could go into the hairpin, but I think he'll line it up down into the second to last corner, to be honest. Medium Pilot looking a lot quicker, obviously on a different set of tyres, but he's got to imagine himself in the later stage of the race. Papetum could go to the end. Medium Pilot will probably go 2-stop onto a set of softs.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to be really, really careful about how he does this one, but I don't think careful will be on his mind at this moment in time, because he is now side by side with that Mercedes then as we head down towards the chicane with that DRS, and he now takes over the net lead of the race, heading our way now towards that start-finish line. Another dose of DRS. Of course, the detection point is going in towards that hairpin. It's quite a margin before the hairpin, a long, long way there before even the sector line, going into sector 3, so it's quite a way down. And obviously that DRS then runs down towards turns 1 and 2, so if you can get past, you can get even further away down the start-finish straight.
Yeah, and I think the fact of the matter is medium pilot now obviously out in front in a net lead of the race. Cagini and Joran still yet to come into the pit. He can now put the hammer down and gap out to Papetin for later on in the race. It's already a second. He's nearly broken the DRS already on Papetin. The guy that is struggling at this moment in time at the leaders is Recon. Obviously with that damage, he's now dropping the back and dropping out of DRS range for Kalsper. Kalsper now can in turn attack Papetin. To be honest, I'm thinking you're seeing medium pilot Kalsper as a possible 1-2 here with Papetin's strategy.
It's a definite possibility for sure. Here is Kalsper though on the back of Papetin. Now he knows the car ahead is on the hard tyres. He needs to make this move stick, but obviously he's not close enough heading in towards that chicane. He's got another dose of DRS then, heading down towards turns 1 and 2. Coutinho into the pits then from the lead of the race. Here goes Kalsper though, taking the outside line in towards turn 1, but becomes the racing line as he just takes that away from Papetin there with the overspeed. Now up into third place, which with Yarum coming into the pits sooner rather than later will now be a net P2.
Yeah, net P2 for Kalsper. Very good overtake, by the way. It was like taking candy from a baby, quite literally.
Absolutely. Well, there is Venom then making his way now in towards turns 6 and 7. Heading our way through. He's right on the back of Darkbolt here, who's on the soft tyre, the Williams. Meanwhile, Venom is on the medium. So Darkbolt here obviously going for a more aggressive strategy to try and make his way up the order. We're expecting him for the medium tyres in around about 5 to 6 laps time to get him to the end of this race, maybe even longer into this race because, of course... Oh, here goes Venom then down the inside. We've seen this move before, locking up there, banging wheels, and on the exit there, Darkbolt should have the advantage on exit, which he does, but Venom here will have the DRS, opens it up against the Williams, looking to go the long way around in towards the chicane, but we've seen moves like this before, where the move's done before the braking zone. That's exactly what has happened, and the Renault has found his way through and up to 5th place, but gets a little bit squirrely on the entrance, but with that DRS, he should be able to recover from that one. Meanwhile, behind them, Josh is in a battle there with Spreen, as Spreen finds his way through in towards turns 1 and 2. Obviously, Josh here started this race on the medium tyres, and I think right now, with a poor start and a couple of spins to his name, he'll be trying to make those medium tyres last as long as possible, but they are worse for wear with those incidents he's been involved with.
Yeah, he's got Dobby all over the back of him as well. Obviously, Josh has not had the rub of the green so far in this race at all. He'll be probably trying to get around the halfway stage, then going on to a set of hards. It seems the only fair strategy to go on. He's been overtaken by Dobby. Again, like taking candy from a baby or taking like candy from a Mercedes, to be honest, out on track. Dobby Creamy's up to 7. Want to watch out for Yarum. On a fresh set of mediums, he is going to put the hammer down on the back of Josh and Dobby as well. Watch out for him later on in the race, because I have a sneaky feeling those tyres could get to the end.
Well, it's a sneaky feeling for sure. I'm not sure they can, but I've been proven wrong before, and I'll happily be proven wrong again. Meanwhile, Coutinho then on the back of Nathan as he looks to try and close into the car ahead. And with Yarum actually trying to pull away from Nathan, this will fall into Coutinho's hands. He'll be able to... Oh, he's missed the chicane there. And that, well, he's got away with that one because he's used the escape road to its advantage there, which obviously cost you momentum down the start-finish straight. But he knew very early on when he was trying to take that corner he was never going to make it. So made the wise choice there.
Yeah, he picked up a warning, I think, for that as well. So he's actually got away with that scot-free. He has got a couple of penalties to his name already. Nathan is under pressure here from Coutinho. But honestly, with that bit of a corner cut, obviously he missed the corner, fair play to him. I think he's gained time out of that rather than lost time. And I mean, this is going to be a job done for Coutinho. Switches to the outside. Again, like taking candy for a baby. How many times am I going to say that tonight? Coutinho threw his up to 9. Very easy.
I do not know, but he's picked himself another 3-second time penalty up for his troubles. I reckon then he did get a warning for that one, because in the long run that actually helped him get past the Red Bull there, and in the end that next one got him the 3-second time penalty. So I think you're right, James. I think he did get a warning for that excursion at the chicane. I don't think it's because he cut the track. I think it's because of the speed he took it at. If he took it a little bit slower, I think the stewards would have let him get away with it.
Yeah, obviously something to watch as well. Obviously, you can have penalties awarded afterwards. Nathan, I think, has just made a mistake coming through the World Champion chicane. Not sure if there was right side end plate damage there. I don't think there is. But there is a lot of cloud cover beginning to build over track. And this means the set of mediums that these guys are on are going to operate at a much better temperature compared to the guys on a set of softs. So Josh obviously has gone for a set of softs. Darkbolt, however, on that set of softs, he's already been on that tyre, so he'll have to go probably into the pit sooner rather than later, because that cloud is really beginning to build. We could see a switch later on in the race.
Absolutely. Kalsper, meanwhile, is trying to chase down Medium Pilot for all he's worth. Gap at the moment is 3.4 seconds, but Perpetuum here is looking on. He wants that battle to happen because it means the top two will be costing time between each other, and he can make his hard tyres last as long as possible. One driver he's got to watch out for as well is Venom, who's currently on those medium tyres, and he's just picked up a 3-second time penalty. That World Champion chicane really does punish you if you don't take it absolutely spot on. If all four wheels go over that orange part of the chicane, then you really run the risk of giving yourself that penalty there. Lap 17 of this race, we're almost halfway through this one, and it is Medium Pilot who leads the way ahead of Kalsper in second. Perpetuum is in third place, Venom in fourth, with Darkbolt there in fifth, Spreen in sixth on debut, Dobby is in seventh with Yarum in eighth, Coutinho in ninth with Nathan in the top 10, Siege is in 11th place, and we've got Killer Blue who's retired in the pit lane. He's decided to call it a day.
No, it's not.
And that is a
final corner.
And a safety car's been deployed then, so he's lost it on the start-finish straight. That just looked like to me he was in the pit lane, but that is a safety car that has now been deployed here at the Canadian Grand Prix, and we haven't seen a full safety car since the Dutch Grand Prix 2 weeks ago. So how does the field react? Medium Pilot in, I assume that's going to be for a set of hard tyres.
Yeah, Kalsper having to think about that coming into the pit lane, but he's in, Perpetuum's in, Venom will be in as well. Yeah, I think everyone's going to come in, to be honest. Honestly, I think he might have lost that on the outside curb coming out of the corner. And obviously he's spun the car. It's very similar to what we saw in qualifying with, I think, Venom, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's lost that into the wall. And obviously with it being so close to the pit lane on the mini-map, that's why we mistook it. But I definitely thought it was not in the pit lane.
Well, you can see there, lots of strategies going on in these final laps of this race then. We are at half race distance, and it is Medium Pilot who emerges in the lead of this race. Yarum, who stayed out, now is up into second place. Kalsper, who pitted in, he's on a set of soft tyres now. So that's going to be an interesting one. Quite a few drivers have come out on soft tyres. Venom is one of them. Coutinho and De Keeper are coming out on soft tyres. Everybody else then has been in the pits, bar of course Carlsbury and Yarum, to put on a fresh set of tyres. They're all running mediums, so this should be an interesting end to this race then. I wonder how long the safety car is going to stay out, because of course it was on the start-finish line, so you would think it wouldn't take too much time to clear up the track, considering that the pit lane is right there to recover the car. But also, as well, that could play into the hands of those running each of these tyres. The soft tyre runners will want the safety car to stay out as long as possible. The medium tyre runners will want the safety car to be out the least amount of time possible. So we're going to have a bit of a race on our hands here. All different strategies across the field. Well, this will be a showdown for sure.
Have the soft runners I run, they've been told something about the weather, perhaps, and they've decided to go on a different strategy?
Perhaps. That could be a good point. But obviously we've seen across these tracks, some tracks take an age to get to a point where they're ready for intermediates. Other tracks, it pretty much happens straight away. As soon as there's any form of water on the track, that it becomes, a bit of a tough task, a tough ordeal to actually drive around the track. Lots of tracks obviously behave in different ways, but Medium Pilot leads the way, and of course Yarum hasn't pitted, so I wonder if he's going to try his luck here and get those medium tyres to the end of this race and try and hold off the cars behind him. One car in particular will be Kalsper, who of course is on the soft tyres. That is going to be such a tough ordeal for Yarum to keep that Ferrari behind him.
Yeah, Yarum as well. He'd be trying to get to the end of the race, possibly on that set of medium. It is going to work out for him, to be honest, with the safety car deployment around halfway. But it begs into question, how worn will those tyres be towards the end? Same with Colton, down in 13th. He is another one on the same strategy as Yarum. He could be one that is going to be really costly towards the end of the race. I've just seen an update, by the way, within Discord. Killer Blue has now got the full-time seat in AlphaTauri. Safety car in this lap, though.
Yeah, not long for the safety car to stick around, and obviously not a great scenario to crash out when you're just announced as a new AlphaTauri driver, but I'm sure he will recover from that one. It's a tough ordeal, Canada, and it is very, very unforgiving if you make those mistakes. And unfortunately for Killer Blue, he is our first retirement of tonight's race. But we now get those tyres warmed up, get those brakes warmed up. Of course, Medium Pilot controls the pack, and he's allowed to do that until the safety car comes into the pits. Then it's across the timing line before you can actually go racing, before you can overtake. Here we go then, in towards that final chicane, and Medium Pilot here will make his way towards the start-finish line to lead the race once again. Lap number 20, 16 laps to go here in the Canadian Grand Prix. It is Medium Pilot who leads the way. Yarum is in second place with Kalsper in third, Perpetum running in fourth place with Venom in fifth, Darpo in sixth with Dobby seventh, Nathan in eighth, Spreen in ninth, and Cugino in 10th place. Lots of drivers here bunching up. Nathan here hasn't had a great restart after this one. He's really struggling for pace, and Spreen is all over the back of him. In turn, Cugino is up for this battle as well. Meanwhile, further up the order, Kalsper knows he has to get this move done. We've got yellow flags in Sector 2, and that's Carlsbury, who is out of the Canadian Grand Prix. And unfortunately, James, I've lost my co-commentator partner. We go side by side with Kalsper and Yarum then in towards that hairpin, and Kalsper gets the move done. Perpeta, meanwhile, will want to try and make this move stick as he tries to nail the exit of the hairpin. No safety car, no VSC for that stranded car of Carlsbury. Unfortunately, he is out of the Canadian Grand Prix, and they've the marshals have quickly cleared that car up. No need for any full course yellow scenarios here as we make our way through and in towards that chicane. Perpetum getting a better exit, but of course getting that penalty too as we make our way towards that line. He gets the move done on Yarum and moves up the position. Meanwhile, Venom with his late dives once again going round the outside in towards turn 2 to try and get the better exit off of the corner now as we head towards turns 3 and 4. Side by side they go then in towards the chicane. The Renault's got the inside line. He's got the move done. Venom now up into 4th place with Yarum down to 5th, and hopefully that big massive box across your screen means that James has rejoined into the commentary box. James, you missed the restart there. A bit of a hectic action going on.
Yeah, I'm not in the lobby or anything, which is great.
Oh, there's Recon going through on Cugino, and Cugino's actually in a little bit of trouble here. He's backed off quite a lot. I wonder if he's got damage to that car, because he is struggling a little bit for front end grip. We'll try and get you an invite very, very shortly in this one, unless you can join through the party. That would be an idea. You could do that. I believe you can anyway. Kalsper, meanwhile, is only 8/10 back on Medium Pilot. We have not got long in this race, but those clouds are getting darker and darker over Montreal, so this could be a very interesting finish to this race. Lots of penalties from the in-game stewards being handed out left, right and centre, and every time you see a 3-second time penalty on the board, that is a penalty that cannot be appealed. That is the standard here. Only the 5-second penalties can be appealed in the after-race steward's office, not the 3 seconds. So you've got to live with those time penalties for the time being. But Medium Pilot still does lead the way by just over a second ahead of Kalsper. Perpetum then is in 3rd place with Venom up to 4th. Yarum now down to 5th with Dartbolt in 6th. Dobby in 7th with Nathan in 8th. Spreen in 9th. And Siege is now in 10th place after that safety car. Now can he try and push on and get even higher than that?
Possibly. It'll be very interesting to see how he gets on, of course. I should just be rejoining back in, so hopefully I'll be able to...
Hopefully. Fingers crossed, anyway. To keep him, meanwhile, yes, we do see James joining back into this lobby. Hooray, only a blip. That's all it is. As we see now the Alfa Romeo of Dekeeper getting a much better exit than Siege. No doubt about that, because he's on the soft tyre. Is the Alfa Romeo heading now down towards that chicane. He's got the move done and moves up a position. Meanwhile, then, Yarum is being caught in all sorts of trouble here because he's right in front of Dartbolt here, and Dartbolt wants to get this move done then. He launches it down into turn 1 there, just about gets it slowed down, but now going side by side, he's caught on the curb and the car swaps on him. A little bit of a half spin for Dartbolt, and on a move there that was very late to begin with, unfortunately it's come back to bite him. He's all the way now down into 9th place, so that's a little bit over ambitious. Now he's right into the hands of Dekeeper here, who's on the soft tyres trying to make this move stick.
Yeah, and I've just seen him in behind. Josh go around the outside of turn 5 on Cugino on a set of mediums. So Josh actually, sorry, on Siege I should say. Josh up to 12th, ran the outside as the keeper fights up Recon, but Recon trying to stick it in down the inside line. Both of them give way. Josh is going to come back possibly down the inside as well.
We're three wide in towards the hairpin. The Alvarez on the inside, but they all come together there as the rain's starting to fall now on the track, just to spice things up a little bit out on track. The rain is starting to fall here in Montreal, and how that didn't involve in a 3-car pile-up, I do not know.
Medium Pilot's made a mistake at the final corner. Carlsberg takes the lead of the race easily for Carlsberg. He takes the lead of the race. Medium Pilot just completely and utterly buggered it on the curb. Carlsberg 3 innings into the lead.
Meanwhile, the two Haas's are going side by side. Dobby's got the inside of turn 2. Meanwhile, Yaram's got the outside of it. Who's going to have the better traction? Who's going to be braver in these treacherous conditions here? Down towards turns 3 and 4. They're still side by side. There's a spinner going out of turn 1.
That's Recon, I think. Kagini wants a set of inters as well. It's nearly 3 wide coming out of turn 5. I don't know where to turn, to be honest with you. That we're getting out on track. But yeah, it was Recon, I think, who spun right tail end plate damage for Recon, sadly. But all hell's breaking loose.
Absolutely. With this rain, the heavens haven't necessarily opened just yet, but there's certainly...
Into his next lap.
Yeah, possibly. Oh, we got Josh! Oh my goodness, we got a Williams stranded in the middle of the track. It's Dartbolt there, who's obviously lost the back end on the exit out of turn 9, and that was such a bizarre place to actually lose the back end, but obviously with those curbs, he's going to find it difficult. Medium Pilot then, and they're both racing now in towards the pit lane. Kalsper picks up the 5-second penalty. Maybe that was a plan for Medium Pilot all along. Inters are at the ready. DRS is now disabled. It's going to be a hectic, mad dash to that pit lane once again to put on a set of intermediates. And Yaram there, that is a fantastic call for him. He stayed out in that safety car period, made those medium tyres last, now onto a set of inters. He finds himself much further up the order than what he was before that safety car ever came out. And now he's in a really good position to push on and keep going with that great momentum.
And he's on for net P5 actually out on track coming out the pit lane, with Dobby having to sacrifice himself on a set of medium to try and get round. Obviously, the Hassas didn't want to double stack, so that's why Dobby is now taking this time. But you can see how quickly it has gone from dries to inters. I did say about those guys on a set of softs, possibly with the rain coming. Look who's laughing now.
Well, I'm certainly not laughing, that's for sure. But yeah, I don't understand that one, why Dobby goes for an extra lap. Yes, it costs you time to double stack, but
Screen into the wall, lost it out of turn 5, somebody cut in Kevin, but Screen having a right moment similar to Brendan Hartley and Stroll in 2018, to be honest.
Well, he's now, I'm assuming that is a wounded car now as he makes his way now in towards turns 8 and 9. Yeah, it's a very wounded car, you can already tell. Into the braking zone of turns 8 and 9. Meanwhile, then Pepetta moves up the order. Yellow flags in sectors 2 and 3. That's just on the approach to the hairpin, which has been quickly cleared up. Meanwhile, Dobby now is just, look at him, he's trying to be to the left-hand side of the track as much as possible. And look how much worse it's got out there for those slick tyres. He managed to keep it on the track. Fair play to him. But in a scenario of a double stack, just take the double stack. The time it takes you to get around the circuit, you'll easily lose more time than if you double stack.
Dobby's been cost at least, I think, 10 seconds, to be honest, with him going on that extra lap on a set of mediums. He's still going to come out in quite a promising position, to be honest. He could come out possibly in 9th position just behind Siege. So it's not going to be too bad, actually, from Dobby. And in fact, yeah, he's going to come out right beside him, actually, and try and get the traction around the outside of the corner. I think Dobby is just about ahead here of Siege. If my camera's messed up, yeah, he is. So Dobby ahead of Siege at the pit lane.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, there is a Medium Pilot who's on the back of Pepetta. Meanwhile, Kalsper leads this race, but of course, he's got that 5-second time penalty. With 10 laps to go, 9 and a bit if you're picky, we are going to have to run through the penalties at some point in this race, but obviously at a point where we can actually take our eyes off this action. If some of you thought Monaco was a little bit of a lackluster race, I'm telling you right now, Canada has been the absolute eye-opener. It's woken you up. It's been the coffee you needed after last week's race, which of course was a little bit tedious, a little bit tenuous, a little bit stressful for all the drivers there, but they managed to keep themselves out of the wall at most points of the race, and obviously with that virtual safety car didn't really bunch up the field. We've had the exact opposite. We've had a race start, halfway through the race we had the safety car deployed. We've got rain towards the end of this race as well. Whatever has been thrown at these drivers, whoever has done this rain dance, whoever has done the safety car dance, has done a fantastic job. Meanwhile, Josh, who by the way was facing the wrong way in turns 5 and 6, on lap 1 of this race, is now up to 6th place. It's an incredible recovery drive from him so far.
Yeah, it's a brilliant recovery from Josh, and to be honest, 6 seconds to Joram in these wet conditions, or these inter-conditions, is certainly going to be no stretch of the imagination. Now, he could do that with his eyes folded, to be honest. Or his eyes blindfolded, that's what I should have said.
His eyes closed.
Yeah.
That would have been the best one, but oh well, we'll go with blindfolded, that'll do. Medium Pilot then, slightly falling away from Perpetum then. Obviously, the last time we checked in on that gap, it was less than half a second. It's now closer to 1 second now. As we see here, Recon on the inside, a dart bolt in towards turn 5 there. A little bit of contact between them, sorry, through turn 6, I should say. Now going through turn 7, Recon looking to try and get the better exit here, but the Williams comes across to try and defend as much as he can. There's only so much defending he can do against the Ferrari, and unfortunately for Dartbolt, he loses out on that one. He does cut the track slightly there, but obviously he doesn't have the momentum to keep on him in towards the exit here. Dartbolt, is he looking for a move down the inside? It's always those half-hearted moves that can be very bad. He did lock up all 4 wheels though, and luckily doesn't go ploughing into the back of that Ferrari. Only a handful of laps left in the Canadian Grand Prix here in TT Masters League. It is Kalsper who leads from Perpetum and Medium Pilot.
Perpetum pulling out the gap to Medium Pilot actually under the pit lane. It was 3 tenths coming out the pit lane. It's now a second, so Perpetum's really beginning to pull out that gap. Kalsper, though, is the one that has really taken this race by the scruff of the neck. In the right place at the right time, he is winning this by, well, I wouldn't say a country mile, but he's beginning to dominate things out in front, and that gap might get bigger before this race actually ends. But I just want to give a shout out as well to Venom, who obviously made that move in on the first lap down into the hairpin. I think it was on Dartbolt, if my mind serves me right. He's up to 4th. Venom up to 4th, doing a fantastic job.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Dobby there is right on the back of Nathan as we make our way up towards the hairpin. Dobby looking for a move down the inside here as the Red Bull runs deep into the corner, maybe to try and get a better exit, but the Haas there will try and close that gap. They're still running side by side then as we head down the straight towards the chicane, but Dobby has the better exit, had the better line, and look at that top speed that the Haas has. It's much better than the Red Bulls, and Dobby moves up to 7th place. In fact, as well, Nathan has a bit of front wing damage on the right-hand side of that car, and that's all too easy for Siege to have a move there. All too easy as well for Takeeper to follow his way through. Down towards turn 1 we go. Takeeper actually looking for a move up the inside of Siege there, going into turn 1, but no such move existed. The door was not opening, not for the Alfa Romeo there. With only a handful of laps to go, it is 7 laps, 6 and a bit if you're picky. Kalsper leads the way by 2.1 seconds. That gap is slowly coming down, bit by bit, sector by sector. And hopefully haven't lost James again for the second time this race, but in the meantime, Takeeper is trying to obviously put that pressure on Siege once again. Dartbolt is into the pit lane and puts on a set of wet tyres there. The rain is starting to get heavier out on track. But is it time for those wet tyres? I wonder. We'll have to keep an eye on Dartbolt and what his situation is, how far down he falls, maybe how his lap times compare. Meanwhile, Takeeper and Siege battling towards the hairpin, and Takeeper wins that battle and now moves up into 8th place. Even so, if the rain is getting heavier out there, one thing the leaders have to take into account is which one of them risks going onto the wet tyres, because there's the most chance you could be wrong. The rain is certainly getting heavier out there. That's no doubt about that anymore. So obviously the drivers now have a choice to make. Do they go onto the wet tyres or try and limp home on these intermediate tyres? It is such a tough call to make for these drivers. Dartbolt clearly feels it is time for those wet tyres. He's going, oh, that was close between himself and Spreen there, going in towards turns 8 and 9, as Spreen has to take to the escape road there. Coutinho is into the pits for the McLaren team. He goes on to a set of wet tyres. He had to change a front wing, so he thinks, why not? Let's go for it with 6 laps to go. But we see here Kalsper still leading the way by 2.2 seconds ahead of Perpetum and Medium Pilot. Yaram, meanwhile, taking a 3-second time penalty as well. Yaram and Venom, meanwhile, going side by side now. Up towards the hairpin they go. Venom on the inside. Yaram going around the outside here. Obviously, this rain is getting heavier. These tyres are going to be less and less effective as the race goes through. Venom gets the move done initially, but look at Yaram now, moving to the left-hand side of the track. But there is Venom's ERS kicking in, and he is able to pull pull away from the Haas, then heading down towards that chicane. And as I was just saying, James, which of these front runners is actually going to risk going into the pits for possibly wet tyres? We've seen Coutinho and Dartbolt go onto a set of wets, as that is Yaron getting a little bit sideways, a little bit of a tank slapper for him out of the final chicane. We see Dartbolt and Coutinho have come into the pits for full wet tyres. They look like they're on the pace, to be honest with you.
They look like they are. I think we're in the crossover period, to be honest, between the tyres, because the keeper is into the pits, presumably to go on to a set of wet compounded tyres as well. Carlsberg just made a mistake as well out in front, so the track getting more treacherous. These guys have got to take it careful, and the keeper actually has retired in the pit lane.
Yeah, a bit of an odd one, that one, but he has retired. That is no points for him, and he was having a decent race as well, but he unfortunately feels that there's a reason for retirement for him, so very unfortunate. But anyway, we carry on then with 5 laps to go, 4 and a bit if you're picky. Carlsberg leads the way by 1.4, and you can see here Perpetuum and Medium Pilot are really closing in onto the back of that Ferrari. There you can see the standing water off of the racing line, not on it. So that's going to be a huge factor for the drivers to decide what are they going to do. Heading now down towards that pit lane, none of them blinking so far, none of that top 3 blinking at all at this moment in time, and there has to be a choice here that they have to make. Surely Venom and Yoram are coming into the pits for wet tyres. Josh meanwhile stays out on his intermediates. Dobby heading down towards that chicane here. What does he decide to do? He is staying out. So quite a few drivers have a decision to make. Siege also stays out. So at this point, I think it's the now or never move. If you weren't planning to go on wet tyres this lap, you're not planning to at all now.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the top 3 look committed, as do Josh and Dobby, to be honest, to the end of the race. Anybody that decides to go on a wet compound of tyres, we see Venom just rejoining that in front of Siege. This will be the biggest indicator. Will Venom pull out that gap massively to Siege? From the early indications, yes, it looks like he is. So, it looks to me as if it's wet tyres now rather than inters.
Yeah, look how quickly he's closing in on Dobby as well. He's got so much more confidence as well. Remember, these wet tyres can display 70 litres of water per second. If it's raining as hard as this, these are the tyres you want to give you that grip out on track. Carlsberg, Perpetuum and Medium Pilot all struggling for grip out there. And to be honest with you, for now, Venom is only around about 22 seconds away from battling for the podiums. Can he make up 22 seconds in 3 laps? Well, we're about to find out. Yellow flags in Sector 3. Going down the start-finish straight. They've quickly been cleared, and it was Dartbolt, as you said.
Yeah, I think he had a mistake coming out of the corner. Venom, in the meantime, has already gone past Dobby. So on that wet compound of tyres, Venom is already through on Dobby. And look at the gap, he's already beginning to pull away. So Venom on a set of wet is outpacing guys on a set of inters, and Dobby knows it. He's into the pit lane, but Perpetuum looks like he's dealing with the corner. Oh, I said that. He's just cut the corner coming through turn 2.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the penalties as well, because it's all hectic, it's all going on. But of course, we've got those penalties to deal with as well. That yellow flag is just for, I think that's Spreen jumping out of the way. As we see there, Yaram on the wet tyres, he also finds a way past the racing point there, as there's the Renault of Spreen, who I think is at a moment there, and he has on the exit of turns 6 and 7. He retires out on track, which is never a thing to do here as we make our way through. And I think the Mercedes there has been caught up in that one, has he? Yes, he has. Josh has been caught up in that. He's collected Spreen, and that's why you don't retire out on track, because your car stays solid, and through no fault of his own, Josh here, I think he's missing a front wing.
That's unfortunate for Josh. He was running in 5th position at the time, and now he's got Venom all over the back of him. Well, he had Yoram, sorry, all over the back of him, and now Yoram's just gone through. And that, to be honest, could be the failure of the ghosting system. Obviously, new patches came out. Meant to be seen.
Yeah, that's what happens when you retire out on track. That's the cause and effect right there. We've seen it. 2 laps to go then.
Yeah, the top 3 on the penalties, by the way. Carlsberg is on 3 penalties, including a 5-second time penalty, which I'm not sure if he served up during any pit stops. I don't think he has. Perpetuum has got 1 penalty, and Medium Pilot has got 2. So that is the main ones out of the top 3, certainly. I don't want to take my eyes off the action for no Perpetum scratching Calsper.
Absolutely, because Venom as well, yeah, absolutely. He's closed in 5 seconds on that lap alone, and the rain is as heavy as it was, so the track's only going to get worse. Perpetum really struggling for grip through turns 6 and 7. Medium Pilot trying to make the best of these conditions, but it's treacherous out there on these intermediate tyres. There's a real risk that you can aquaplane.
Yeah, there is a real risk, and Venom is really pushing it. Nearly too much, actually, as he nearly lost it through turn 5. But he's already gained 2 seconds in the first sector alone. If he does that per sector, it's going to be quite tight. He's going to fall short, I think. But penalties can come into play. And I'll check Venom's penalties actually very quickly. Venom has got 3 penalties, so it might not be too much of a difference towards the end of the race.
Well, it might not be, but, you know, we've still got, you know, that 4 kilometres to go. 4.3 kilometres still left of this race to run, and anything can happen in it. Calsper then making his way across the start-finish line to start his final lap of the race. And as you say, he's still got that 5-second penalty to serve as he makes his way through. One thing's for sure, James, whoever wins this race is going to be a very, very, well, wet driver, I'm going to say. Overalls will be soaked with water, but yeah, we won't really know who the winner is until the end, as Perpetum gets a big tank slapper heading out of turn 2 as he just about keeps that car in check. But Calsper, meanwhile, just trying to keep this car on the, well, I was going to say island, it's rather the sea at this moment in time, trying to wade his way through in that overpriced speedboat, making his way now on towards that little bit of a back straight towards turns 9 and 10. I have to say, whoever wins this race will have thoroughly deserved it, as we now make our way through, onwards now through the final couple of corners. Calsper twice has been on the podium so far this season, twice. He's got one third place, 1 second place. Will this be the day he can finally add a race win to his tally, taking it as treacherously as possible, as carefully on the throttle as he dares, out of the hairpin for the final time, and now making our way onwards towards that final chicane with the Wall of Champions lurking on his right hand side. Just one more time, he makes his way through and towards the checkered flag. He'll win the Canadian Grand Prix out on track, but what will the penalties do? Calsper crosses the line first, but Perpetum will be the one to win the race in the Mercedes there, and that is Perpetum taking back-to-back wins in TT Masters League. Medium Pilot finishes in 2nd place, Calsper in 3rd. A valiant effort from Venom towards the end of that race to take 4th place. Yoram in 5th, with Dobby crossing the line in 6th place here. Siege, who has stayed out, and he goes up to 5th, my apologies. Siege, meanwhile, on the intermediate tyres, has struggled his way towards this checkered flag on those intermediate tyres, but 7th place for him. Josh across the line, so unlucky towards the end of the race. I'd hazard to say he's my driver of the day without any vote taking place. Nathan then crosses the line and he will finish in P9, and Recon comes across the line, he will finish in P10. As we've got a couple of positions left to decide. Dartbolt and Coutinho there getting very hairy out of turn 10, and I think that's any chance of finishing in 11th place gone for Coutinho, unless Dartbolt has a couple of penalties on his side. Making our way now down towards that final chicane. Treacherous they go, but they're on the wet tyre, so in theory they should have a bit of grip there, but Dartbolt loses a bit of front wing on the exit there. Shouldn't matter too much. The results stay the same. Dartbolt stays in 11th, Coutinho in 12th place. But our first repeat winner of TT Masters League, it is Perpetum, who takes his 2nd race win of the season here at a very treacherous Canada. Yoram takes driver of the day. Well, the rain has all of a sudden come to a stop as the sun shines down on what has been a fantastic race between the three of them, and it is Perpetum who takes his 2nd race win of the season.
Yeah, Perpetum drove that race really well in terms of not picking up as many penalties as the rest around him. That's what it came down to at the end of the day. Calsper in obviously 3rd position, behind in the end, off the top of my head, Medium Pilot. There we go. Yeah.
Well, that means then we are official, unofficial results then. It is Perpetum who takes the race win, and 30 points go to his name. In fact, that is going to be a huge help for him in the championship standings. Medium Pilot in second place, 2 extra points for his pole position. Calsper in third, Venom from 13 on the grid, finishing in fourth place. Fantastic race for him. Dobby in fifth with Yarum in sixth. Siege in 7th with Josh in 8th, Recon 9th, Nathan in 10th, Darbolt in 11th, Coutinho in 12th, and Spreen there finishing in 13th place. In fact, he is not going to be classified, so therefore won't score any points. Dekeeper, Carsbury and Killer Blue join him on the DNF list. What that means is, unofficially, of course, we still have to go to the stewards and whatnot. I call it as Perpetum being our new championship leader as we head towards Austria.
Yeah, and that'll fill him up with a lot of confidence, especially going into a track as fearsome as Austria and as overtaking-wise as Austria as well. It's going to be really intriguing to find out. Big shout-out, by the way, to Venom. He drove a really good race from his early mistakes that he was making, but he drove a very good race. And Josh, you've got to feel unlucky for him. Trust me when I say this, he'll be back a lot stronger next week and probably fighting for top 3.
Absolutely, but of course we've seen the first-hand reason why you don't retire out on track when you've had a spin. It's just, hopefully that will get clamped down on, because it's just not fair on other drivers. But in any case, I hope you've enjoyed tonight's racing here tonight. Unofficially, we have a new championship leader in our repeat winner, our first repeat winner in TT Masters League Division 1. It is Perpetum, and I have to say, that top 3 on those intermediate tyres, I think they would have been challenged a lot more by Venom if there was just a couple more laps left of this race.
Remember Warren from last season, I think it was, in TTL F1. I think it was in Japan where we had a wet race, and he was absolutely flying towards the end of the race. It was like that, I think, towards the end, but Venom obviously just running out of time. He had a lot of penalties on his side as well, so that would have done him in anyways. But if he didn't, and the race was just a couple of minutes longer and a couple of laps longer, then it would have been a whole different story.
Absolutely, but obviously take a note of our weekly schedule, because we've had the Canadian Grand Prix for Division 1 tonight. Don't forget we have the Esports Masters League with myself and James tomorrow night, and the first round of that is at the Australian Grand Prix. Quite a few teams, esports teams, basically putting their best foot forward to try and win that Esports Masters League. And of course, it takes place over several months, so it's worth watching that one to see how it all goes down. That will be at 7 o'clock GMT. Sorry, BST. We're still in British summertime still. That caught me out for a minute there. It'll be GMT soon, but BST for now. Obviously as well, Thursday night, don't forget Division 2 and Division 3 at the Canadian Grand Prix, as well as on Friday for Division 4 and Division 5. Make sure as well you subscribe down at the for the YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a race. We only don't race on Mondays. That's the only day off, I promise. And obviously Mr. James Head over here does most of the commentary most nights. So wherever you see a TTML stream, James Head is not too far away. If you want to follow the commentary team, our links are hopefully down below and maybe even across the screen. I think Tom in the background, as always, Tom, a big thank you to him for all the graphics involved this week. He's got our Twitters down there as well. They're also down in the link if you want to, or in the description I should say, if you want to just click a link and it takes you there. But James, great racing tonight. We've got the Austrian Grand Prix next. Bring it on, I say.
Bring it on indeed. I think Austria will be very interesting. And just to come on about tomorrow as well, the Masters League, it should be really intriguing to see those 10 teams fighting it out. We do have actually 2 leagues in total. So we've got one at 7 o'clock. Aidan Carter going to be taking you through that one, maybe alongside with a co-commentator. And then it's us two from 8:30 for Premier.
Absolutely. That's why I said 7 o'clock, because you want to be here for both races, obviously.
Yeah.
That is when we'll kick off. And obviously myself and James will be here from 8:30 for the first round at Australia. And that's only tomorrow as well, so hopefully we'll see you here tomorrow as well. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves out there. Thank you very much. I've been Kieran McGinley.
I've been James Head.
Take care of yourselves. And we will see you again, hopefully, tomorrow.
When your nightmares turn to real life and the ground's filled up with landmines, we will face it standing side by side. You know I'll come running when you need. I'm coming. You know I'll come running. pick up my sword, yeah, there's nothing to